And it is a very rainy afternoon here in Tel Aviv, and it's been raining cats and dogs for 3 days now. But it's a pleasure to have Christoph and Asta from MedSyntra on the Life Sciences Today podcast today. I'm the host. We have two co-founders, and it's really interesting space. They're actually doing something totally surprising for me. I always thought it was solved a long time ago. And that is, well, I'll let you tell us what exactly you do. Welcome to Life Sciences Today.
Thank you, Danny. I appreciate it. Wonderful to be here. Thank you for having us. It's raining in South Africa as well as we speak. There's a huge thunderstorm outside, so I hope the weather holds for us while we do this podcast. Thanks for having us on. And I'm Christoph Kutsia, one of the co-founders of MedSyntra. And then we have Asta Ratkeviciene as well. She's our other co-founder and CEO, and I'm the CIO. So let me tell you a little bit about our journey, the journey of MedSyntra and how we came to be. And I think through that, I'll also perhaps just touch on what our actual product offering is and what we set out to solve. So I personally, I come from a radiology information system background. I'm an engineer by training and a programmer by trade. And I work in the information security area of radiology and healthcare data specifically. So I come from building very complex, highly regulated technology systems. And MedSyntra was born from a simple but global truth, and frankly, quite a big frustration. Healthcare data exists everywhere, but it is always fragmented, siloed, compartmentalized, locked, and as data is today, generally unusable for AI and research progress. So we founded the company specifically to solve this, not just at a pilot level or a hospital level, but truly at a national scale, level. And what we do is three things. So our product, if we can call it such, the first thing we do is our platform that we built, that we've developed to normalize radiology and imaging data in healthcare, including oncology, ophthalmology, pathology, and all the other ologies. We provide that as an infrastructure set so that large groups, large institutions, and global companies can leverage their own data that contains patient health information, and they can then de-identify it, anonymize it, and gain smart insights with AI to actually understand what that data is, what the disease states are, and make it research ready so that they can then perform research on the data. Secondarily, we take any healthcare institution creating imaging data globally in the world, that data, and we can make it AI ready. So essentially, we connect hospitals. Thirdly, we connect hospitals and institutions to research groups globally almost instantaneously, within a few hours to a day or so at most. So it's a very exciting space to be in.
Cool. So we talked about this before the podcast, and you create value for who by doing what?
So it's a great question. And I think one of the core principles of what we do, so how we create value, is we take fragmented clinical and radiology information that is currently full of patient health information and built for real world healthcare. So we take that information, we then put it into a secure environment, we fully anonymize the data, and we create AI-ready data assets, essentially meaning that governments, hospitals, and really any innovators in this space, AI companies and pharmaceutical research as well, can finally use that data to improve care research and really find exciting outcomes and solve the issues that will be solved tomorrow.
So when you say AI ready, that kind of, sounds like a buzzword. What
It
is,
does.
translate that into plain English for me and in our listeners.
Yeah, absolutely. So imaging data by itself exists out of uh, there's a standard called DICOM, which is both a standard and a file format itself. And this format, DICOM, the digital imaging and communication in medicine, this standard allows for things like compression of the data to save space and minimize transmission times between clinical systems and also optimize storage platforms. So there's a whole slew of different compression algorithms that can be applied to the data, lossy or lossless, depending on the data type. And many vendors, some of the bigger vendors, create proprietary tags and formats for their data. So as an example, if you use a fax system or a storage system from Group A, it's a great idea to also buy the machines, the CT scanners and MRI machines from Group A, because it all works really well together. It's all very interoperable and works good. So one of the big buzzwords that was came around in the industry over the last few years is vendor neutral archiving, meaning it's a system that can talk to any vendor system, interact with any storage system, stores a lot of data from any type of vendor in a neutral format. So what AI ready means is twofold. First, from a data side, a technical side, it means that that data is normalized. So we decompress it if it is compressed. We remove proprietary tags so that it can be processed by any system downstream. And we make sure that it adheres to the standard 100% so that it can be processed by data scientists using standard tools. So that's on the data side. On the information side, because that data contains all sorts of personal identifiers, patient names, surnames, ID numbers, addresses, payer information, everything that a surgeon or a hospital group might require to actually provide proper healthcare to that patient is in that data. And we need to get rid of all of that to make it research ready. However, especially in cases like oncology, it's really important to keep patient longitudinality, meaning if a patient had a few scans, maybe tracking tumor growth or regression or progression of a tumor, we want to be sure that we know this patient A had 6 scans and here they are, here more or less the dates. So
Right.
we get the data research ready as well as de-identify the data and make sure that researchers can immediately use it hands-on for AI systems training downstream.
And you provide like a common key across the same patient without actually identifying the patient.
Yes.
Interesting. Um, that's basically, something which when you told me about this before the show, when we were talking about it, I said, well, I mean, I was sure this was already a solved problem. But what you're saying is that no one is actually doing it right now, and you're providing, but I think maybe not quite the same way. You're providing it as an infrastructure, as a service. Is that correct?
Yeah, absolutely. So what is very well solved today is groups and companies providing siloed infrastructure within hospital spaces. Meaning if you have a hospital and you have an imaging center in that hospital and you have perhaps a few MRI machines and CT machines, maybe mammography and chest x-rays, what is very well solved today, and we do have fantastic tools for this, is the tools to interact with that data on a local level or perhaps on a group level. So if you have a few sites, you can use teleradiology or central reporting by the radiologists. What is not very well solved is then to take that data, turn it into research-ready data, and provide it to anybody else, research institutions looking to solve healthcare challenges by building AI models. There are a few companies doing this on a much smaller scale. There's a group in America that only buys and sells American data, really, primarily. There's a few, an example is the Cancer Institution of America that uh, made a part of their of their data sets available, and you can then purchase this and use that for oncology research. But to truly have this on a large scale, to have any hospital or imaging group sign up and unlock the value that is already today in their data asset that they might not even be aware of, and also to help them solve clinical challenges of the future and population health. That is not well solved at all. That's the big gap that we saw, and the frustration that we set out to eliminate.
I get it. So where is the data being hosted today?
Great question. So we do two things. Because we either sell it as a platform, meaning if a large group, a pharmaceutical group already has a lot of scans, they can host it in their own infrastructure as a platform. Or on a national scale, it might be within a state infrastructure. But for data sales and perhaps providing data sets of value, we use cloud services in South Africa, or rather Africa and Europe. We use Microsoft Azure, and in America, AWS or Google Cloud. So it really depends what the country has available, what they prefer, what their cloud providers have available. Some countries allow their data to be stored in other countries, a data safe haven.
Yeah,
Other countries do not. They require data sovereignty. So you can't store your data from France and Germany, as an example. So within those, we spin up individual storage silos within those countries in the cloud infrastructure, and make sure that we observe the data sovereignty rules of those countries.
that makes sense. That makes total sense. So who are your customers? Governments or hospitals, or who basically pays you money to use this service?
That's a great question, Danny. We primarily work with big pharmaceutical companies doing internal research, global AI companies building models. So there's two, I would put them into two groups. The one is already established companies that have already built models and are looking to further optimize and specialize their models. An example is a TB model for tuberculosis, chest X-ray screening. That is, let's say as an example, built in India, that is really good for the Indian population, but because the pathology and the manifestation of that disease differs slightly globally, it's now possible through us to source data for tuberculosis patients from South Africa, some from America, from Eastern Europe, wherever the disease is prevalent, and to make sure that that model works equally well in different areas of the world. And then on the other side, we have very exciting biomedical research being done and biomarkers being discovered that we weren't even aware of. Companies are unlocking on an incidental level findings in radiology that the human eyes can't pick up, that machines can pick up the patterns. So we are working with many individual AI companies, groups as well, on a data level that is acquiring data sets, as an example, stroke CT or liver MRI and CT of the liver, examples, thoracical data. So very exciting in that side. And on the other side, we have pharmaceutical clients doing clinical research and drug research, tracking how their drugs perform in, as an example, chemotherapy in very controlled environments to do drug enhancement in the long run. And thirdly, on a national scale, as an example, we recently finished the Saudi Biotech Accelerator. We were in the top 5, I think, of just shy of 100 companies there. It was an incredible journey. And the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, with their Vision 2030, is that they're doing incredible things and truly investing into AI research. But their data are sovereign. Same as an example, some of the countries in Africa, and there we sell it on a national scale and a national level.
So let me try to get my hands around what you're doing. So you're talking
Please,
to people all over the world, it sounds like.
of course.
And how many How many paying customers do you actually have?
So great question. Unfortunately, I've got very strict NDAs with most of them, but I can tell you that
Not numbers, not
I've,
who they are, but numbers. So
yeah,
who's
yeah, of course,
yeah. How many
of
people
course.
are actually paying you money for this service?
I can tell you that our traction has more than doubled in the last 2 months, in that scale, both in terms of data paying customers, data sales, as well as on a large institutional level. By February, we think that will double again. So yeah, quite exciting in this space. We currently more or less just on a data sales level, I can tell you that we do probably board 4 to 6 new clients a month.
Well, so you're going fast.
We hope so. We hope so, right? The challenge is with AI, we are doing things that, and yeah, I don't like using AI as a buzzword exactly as you said, but let me be more specific. The challenge is, together with the advantage, that we are doing things today that we were not able to do even a year ago, never mind 2 years ago. With, I'll give you one example. We currently use very bespoke, highly trained large language models in the AI space, completely offline models that are trained in medical terminology, specifically radiology terminology. These reports are really quite complex. You might have a single view of a chest X-ray, it's half a page report. If there is pathology, maybe a full page report. But if you start working with MRI data, CT data in oncology, these are 3, 4, 5 page reports full of medical terminology that really only makes sense to the specialists. So we use LLMs that are very highly trained to just extract the disease states, the exact disease states. If there is, for example, a mass that is a known mass and there's a measurement, it's 2 centimeters by 4 centimeters, and it is we then can index and extract just the very specific relevant information about what is in the scan. What should an AI model look for and focus for in this exact MRI that I'm feeding it? It doesn't care about things like follow-ups or if the patient smoked or not, but it very specifically cares about, I'm expecting a tumor in the upper right-hand quadrant of the lung. It's this size, and that is how it works. So we can extract the data, very highly index it, and we have so much more insight today than what we had even a year ago. And that is also, so that's a huge advantage with the speed that technology and AI changes and allows us to do things and gain insights on a massive scale that we weren't able to do even a year or two ago. And with that also comes the challenge, because truly in this space, who knows what will happen in a year? And any of these challenges can be much better solved in a year. So we try to move fast, and we try to really enable research institutions to get answers to questions that are prevalent today, and help cure disease states and diagnostic states. Yeah.
So let me try to summarize this in my own words, what I'm hearing from you the past few minutes, which is that basically your value proposition, you create value by providing access to de-identified imaging data sets,
Yes.
and just making it easy to access sites anywhere, well, all the places that you operate anyhow. And your value creation seems like it's some kind of a subscription model plus some kind of a setup, probably. Is that correct?
Yes, so that's correct, as well as we enable radiology groups that has already created data, right? So they store the last 3, 5, 7, 10 years worth of digital data. They've already seen that patient. They've already completed that exam. They've got paid for that exam, and they're done with it. However, due to regulatory and medical legal concerns, they have to store that data. So it's a cost to them. It costs money to store that data for 3, 5, 7 years or indefinitely. It just costs money. So what we enable them to do is now monetize that asset, which they already have. They've already created it. So it's zero extra effort from their side for the radiology groups and the contributors of data. They suddenly have a whole additional stream of revenue for the greater good because we use this data in clinical research as well.
So you're basically monetizing, I'm monetizing my backups.
Exactly that. Yes.
That's very cool. It sounds to me though that when you have a new customer, there must be a lot of setup work involved. How much are you able to recoup some of that cost by charging them like a one-time setup fee?
So it's a great question that really required a lot of consideration. And the great answer to that is it really doesn't take a whole lot of effort, a little bit of expertise, but not a tremendous amount of effort. Specifically, coming back to when we started the conversation, we spoke about the standard. There's a standard in these systems called DICOM, and
Right.
DICOM prescribes exactly how systems should interact with each other. So if they do have a system, and 99% of this of the clients do to actually communicate in DICOM, we can use that exact same protocol and standard to then just be another node on that network, essentially like a radiology viewer, looking and requesting data. But instead of saying, I want to see this exam for 5 minutes, we're saying, show me the last 1,000 exams. And as soon as we get them, we store them and process them in the data center. And we do that continuously. So the industry term for that is a migration. So essentially migrating it from one storage platform to another. And we've gotten really good at this. We do it in such a way that there's zero clinical impact. We throttle daytime operations and nighttime operations to be sure that that the traffic doesn't interfere with the IO and the traffic doesn't interfere with the day-to-day clinical operations at all. So once you get it going, it's quite passive. It takes time. It's large imaging data by just virtue of what it is massive data, right? We're talking about terabytes of data on the average migration. But once it gets going, it's perfectly fine and it continues. And if there are problem studies, it's not a healthcare level migration. It's not a critical system. We're not using this data for actual healthcare interactions. So if there are one or two studies that fails every day, it's perfectly fine. And there is no critical clinical impact because of
Mhm.
that.
So you're not in the clinical loop. Okay. And something I'm wondering about myself, and maybe our listeners would be thinking about this. So how do you ensure data security and privacy here? Because you're talking about customers in different places and data sources in different places who are monetizing their backups, like you hook up to their PAC systems, and then you send
Yes.
it off somewhere to Azure, and then it's like it seems very it seems like a really interesting problem. How do you assure confidentiality and integrity and access to the data?
That's my favorite question so far by far. That's my forte and the area that I specialize in. And perhaps to summarize this bit of the conversation, because this is a topic that I can talk about for hours on end, data security. I love this.
Well, you have
The
you
short,
have give us a very you have
yeah,
a minute
a
or
high
two
level
there.
overview.
Yeah, just
Absolutely.
give us the right answer. Okay.
The gist of it, absolutely, Danny. So we use very high levels of encryption from data pickup during transfer and to data delivery. The advantage of working with big cloud systems like Azure, AWS, and GCP is we can leverage the already existing and certified security tools to do this. They
Mhm.
do have already pre-existing certified, healthcare certified pipelines to move data from A to B. On top of that, we have our own encryption protocol that we use to encrypt data traveling down this pipeline. As soon as it is received in the cloud, it stays in memory where we completely remove all the patient information, both on a pixel level, on the image level, as well as in the metadata, the tag level containing all the patient information. So that's all done in memory. And the only data that we ever write out to the storage system itself is already completely de-identified and research ready clinical data. At that point in time, once it's written out, it's actually no longer considered patient health information data by law at all, but just medical data.
Okay. let's stop here. We could take it, we could take it really deep for sure. And I know that you could talk
Oh,
about this. You could
I'd
talk
love
about
to
this
at
for
some
hours,
time.
I know.
Yes,
So
absolutely.
we're not going to do a threat model on the program. So that brings us to our final surprise question. So the past month or so, I've been asking a surprise question, and this is for our listeners. So, what is the biggest anti-pattern in your industry today?
That's a good, that's a good answer. It's a good question, Danny. I think off the top of my head, two things. The first is I did a talk at the Society of Imaging Informatics about this point specifically, and that is population increase globally much faster than we can train radiologists. We already have a shortage in first world countries, and in the third world countries, developing economies, it's dire and only ever getting worse. The only possible way to bridge this gap is by leveraging technology. That's the only way, is to embrace AI. AI, not necessarily at this stage for diagnostic use, but certainly for pre-screening, triage and ER, and perhaps to be another set of eyes on the screen to enable human readers, which won't be replaced, to have better workflow and to be more efficient in what they do, so that they can, at the end of the day, see more cases and give more expert opinions. And though a lot of those tools are available today, but adoption is slow. These standards exist for a reason, and we see, I think one of the main things we see is that groups tend to stick with a specific vendor just because of fears of interoperability. However, these systems, especially on a vendor neutral side, these systems are designed to talk to each other, and great tools are there, and the technology is there for rapid AI adoption today. Secondarily, I've spoken to quite a few radiology groups, and perhaps a little bit unintuitively, but many people, many groups do not realize that their actual data that they've already created contains a tremendous amount of value, both from a monetization side, but also for a clinical research side. Researchers and AI developers are desperate for data. They truly are. They're buying up data sets as fast as they can get them. And the data already exists. It exists today. It is just a matter of getting this data and getting it to research ready state to actually enable the research. So I would say that is the two biggest things that we see, is that the patterns exist, the standards exist already, and many
But
groups can already, yeah.
the standards exist, but people don't use them, don't access the data.
Yeah,
So
I
that
think I think the fear of interoperability hinders a lot of AI adoption, certainly. So many
so
people think, oh, I've got this model from that company, and but I've got a system from this company, and the two won't talk to each other, and it won't work well. But there are standards for a reason, and these things do typically work really well.
So that's an interesting anti-pattern. So let me put it in my own words, which is that basically what you're saying is that there's a lot of data, there are a lot of people that want to make money for the data, there are a lot of models that need to be trained, but the fear of interoperability, the fear
Yes,
is what preventing this from happening.
absolutely,
So,
absolutely. The
so
fear of
fear,
the unknown and
fear of the
interoperability. Yeah,
well, fear of no, fear of the regulator, maybe, right? It's like,
absolutely.
yeah, maybe Donald Trump will tell us not to do it,
I'll
Um,
tell you.
um, So, you guys are working at the national level and at the pharma level. Um, and it's been a pleasure to have you on the show, Christoph and Asti, who was joining us on the sly, on the quiet. And as she's looking after children, I imagine. And so I've had a great time talking to you guys. And so My name is Danny Lieberman. I'm the host of Life Sciences Today. We've had the pleasure to host Christoph and Asta from MedSyntra, and they're basically an infrastructure as a service for de-identified imaging data sets, and hopefully get past this this anti-pattern in the industry of not wanting to do things, being afraid of interoperability. So interoperability is for sissies. Okay, so thanks you so much.
Absolutely.
Welcome to the show, and when we go
Thank you,
live,
Danny.
we'll let you know.
It was fantastic. Thanks for having us.
Okay. One last thing. We go live on Fridays at 11 o'clock Eastern times. It'll be towards the end of February, and I write up in my newsletter, Clear Thinking. I'll write up an essay about this about the podcast. So look out
Excellent.
for that. I'll put it in the chat for you guys so you can sign up for the newsletter. So thanks so much.
Thank you, Danny. It was wonderful. Thanks for having us today.
Thank you for being my guest.
Thank you.